Like that, tell the people that phony water is back. Like that, tell the people that phony water is back. Like that.
You are tuned into the W Show on Sideline Sports Talk Network and 100.1 FM, Kansas City. Live from Radio Row in San Francisco, California. Brought to you by Gates Barbecue, the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, Dillard Zona Rosa, the Soul of Santa, Golden Gate Funeral and Cremation Services, and Wood Nissan.
We are back here live from Radio Row with some more guests that I'm excited to talk about and talk to. Appreciate you guys watching us, sticking with us in Kansas City, 100.1 FM, also Sideline Sports Talk KC and the W Show on all social media platforms. We have Larry Miller and Ken Oliver here talking with us. How you fellas doing today?
Doing great.
Good. How y'all doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. You guys are talking about the mission of Jump. Talk about that.
Yeah.
What is important about the mission?
Sure. Well, Jump's mission is to harness the cultural influence of sports, entertainment, and big brands to catalyze access to education, employment, and economic mobility for youth and adults that are impacted by the justice system. And our mission was really inspired by the life of Larry Miller, who wrote a book called Jump.
Right.
So I'll have him tell you a little bit about that.
So I grew up in Philly, and as a young person, I was in trouble, in and out of jail. When I was 16 years old, I was in a gang. I shot a kid and killed him. Was tried as an adult. Sentenced to 4 to 20 years, did the 4 years, got out, back to the same community, back to the same neighborhood, back into the same thing. Ended up getting arrested again. The last time I was incarcerated, I had 5 armed robbery charges. But when I got to the prison this time, they had a college program there where you could take college classes inside the jail, and then you could qualify actually to move into trailers that were outside the jail and leave every day and go to school. So when I heard about that program, I was like, hey, if I got to do time, that's the best way to do it. But what I ended up doing was getting involved in that program, and I really started to believe that I could change my life through education. Ended up getting my associate's degree while I was in that program, transferred my credits and moved to a halfway house in North Philly, transferred to Temple University. Got my bachelor's degree in accounting, of all things, as a criminal, and started my career. But before I actually got started, I was about to graduate, and I ended up, at the time, it was what was known as the Big 8 accounting firms. And if you were graduating with an accounting degree, you wanted to work for one of them. So I ended up spending the whole day interviewing with one that was called Arthur Anderson at the time. Spent the whole day there interviewing with a number of people. And all day in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, should I share my story with these folks? Right. Because all they knew, I was a young black man about to graduate with honors, and they were interested. So finally, I get to the last guy who was the hiring manager, and I decide I'm going to share my story with him. And as I start to talk to him, I can see his face changing, like not in a good way. And finally, when I was done, he said, wow, that's an incredible story. And he reached in his pocket and pulled out an envelope. He said, I have an offer letter here that I was all ready to give you. He said, but I'm sorry, I can't give it to you now. I wish you the best, but I can't. And at that point, the first thing that ran through my mind was, this has been a waste of my time and effort and money, because they're never going to let me, with my criminal career, criminal background, build any type of career. But I decided I wasn't going to give up. I was going to continue to move forward. But I decided that I was not going to share the information anymore. I wasn't going to deny it if it came up. I wasn't going to lie about it, but I wasn't going to volunteer the information. And for 40 years, that's how I built my career. People that I close to, people that were like family to me that I've met over the years, had no clue about my background. And, you know, people like Michael Jordan, Phil Knight, people that I've worked with really, really closely and consider friends and family, had no clue about my background. My oldest daughter, who's standing out there, worked on me for years, like trying to convince me that I should share the story. And for years, I gave it a high school, like, no, I'm not doing that. But finally, she convinced me that it could motivate and inspire some people. And the way she said, hey, you know, your story motivates me and our family. You should share this so that it can inspire and motivate other people. And so her and I worked for over 10 years on putting this story together. The book was published about about 3 or 4 years ago. And since then, I've been really focused on how can I help other people to experience something similar to what I have. And so I met Ken, and we just kind of clicked and had a similar vision for what we thought was needed in terms of how to help people not just come home and survive, but to really thrive when they came home. And so that's what Jump is about. Jump is about, we created an organization called, the book was called Jump, and the organization is called Jump. It stands for Justice and, excuse me, help me out here, Ken.
Justice and Upward Mobility
Project.
And Ken, why was it important for you, a person everybody knows who you are, right? Why was it important for you to put your name behind it, and also with Jordan Brand?
Well, I mean, when I met Larry, I was a VP of Corporate Social Responsibility for a tech company here in San Francisco. And somebody asked me, did I know who Larry Miller was when the book first came out? And I said, no. They sent me an article that was in Sports Illustrated about Larry. And I knew that halfway through the article that I had to meet this man who had probably the most incredible story of transformation and redemption that I had ever read. And so the next week I was on a plane to Nike headquarters and sat in the office half the day with Larry. And like Larry said, I think our stories are very similar as far as our trajectories. Obviously I haven't run the Jordan Brand, but our trajectories coming up in the inner city. I grew up in South LA. He grew up in West Philly. We just connected on a lot of things. And so we started to really brainstorm and think about how could we take our respective experiences as executives and companies and really drive change for the other tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of brothers and sisters who we know are just as gifted, if not more gifted than we are, right? That are sitting behind the walls or being locked out of opportunity. And so that's what we dedicated our life to.
I tell people this all the time, but some of the most intelligent, creative people I ever met are people I met while I was incarcerated. The issue is these people were not in situations where they could positively express that creativity and intellect, so they did what they did. And our goal now is to try to tap into that and provide opportunities for these people to express that intellect and creativity. And we're proud to have partnered with the Players Coalition for to actually, we're doing an event on Saturday night to share with folks what we're doing with Jump, and we're really excited about it, and we're thrilled to be here at Super Bowl this year.
Well, thank you for pushing through and having the confidence to tell your story, because once that man took away that offer letter, again, you could have just went back in your shell and said, I don't want to do this anymore. But since linking up with each other and getting the word out, how has it been received? What's the feedback like from those who have been able to utilize what you're doing?
Well, I think what's interesting is that Larry and I came out in two different generations. So prior to the ubiquity of background checks, right, Larry was able to build his career without having to go through that. Now 95% of companies do background checks, so you really can't hide from it. And so when I came home, I was taught at a public interest law firm to talk about my story openly. I was involved with public policy, going to speak to legislators and senators, et cetera. And so we openly talked about our lived experience, and that way we could actually drive change for others. And so for me, I felt like it was always received in a way that I never imagined, because when you come out of an experience like that, the first thing you feel is shame. And then the next thing you feel is like, let me just put my head down and kind of like find a lane, find a job, get back in school, do some other kind of thing. And so I think the fact that people were interested in the story for me, in the way that they've been for Larry times 1,000, really gave me the confidence to be able to talk about it. I said, oh, wait a minute, they want to hear about me doing 10 years in solitary confinement. They want to pay me to go speak in front of Harvard or these other places. And so it really gave me a voice, not for myself, right? It gave me the voice, and I tell people to speak for the voiceless, to speak for the faceless. There's 2 million brothers and sisters sitting behind the wall in this country, and they don't get an opportunity to speak. And so I realized early on that my voice was being used as a tool to speak for others. And I think, Larry probably feels something similar.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, to me, I like a friend of mine asked me, said, "Hey man, you were ready to take this story to the grave with you?" I was like, "Absolutely." That was my plan. I was never going to share this story.
Sure.
But my daughter convinced me that, it was something that was needed. To your point, it was the ability to show people who are in that situation that there's hope. Providing hope for people that, hey, if you persist, if you keep pushing forward, there's the opportunity and the possibility that you could build something pretty incredible with your career. I mean, I never dreamed that I would run the Jordan brand, run the NBA team, coming from where I come from as a, former gang member, somebody who's been in the system multiple times. To be able to do what I've done. I think, to me, it's an example for people of what can happen.
And you guys talk about being two different backgrounds, and two different situations, but now have collaborated. Why is that so important?
Yeah. I think for me, taking the work that I've done in the field and combining it with a story that we won't hear in another 1,000 years.
Right.
I mean, the chances of one of us coming from the environment that Larry come from, doing time in prison, and that it just so happened that his star aligned with the most iconic athlete in the history of the world. And then he had the opportunity to build the most iconic brand. Right. I see around here 4 of us got on Jordan. Right.
Right.
And then
I already checked that out.
Right. And then when you think about it, to be asked by one of the most pivotal founders, Paul Allen of Microsoft, another, generational kind of company, to run an NBA team, not just come work for me, but run the team. Right. When will we see that again? Right. Yeah. I mean, that we might not see that for another 1,000 years. Exactly. And so for me, who was already entrenched in this work, to join forces with Larry, to be able to change people's minds, change narratives, catalyze opportunity for others and access for folks that live through something similar to what we lived through, to me, it was a must.
Yeah.
Do you foresee in the future with Larry's stories and other people's stories that some way they can change the laws to not judge people on their background getting out of jail, so they don't have to face the same kind of scrutiny and judgment that Larry faced?
Yeah, well, Larry didn't just face it; I faced it too.
Yeah,
right? But I will say that that's what narrative change is about. And so what's magical about Larry's story is Larry defied everything that anyone's ever said about people that look like us.
Yeah.
Right, whether they've been to prison or not.
Yeah.
He got his college degree, graduated top of his class in prison, or right there, and then went on to have an amazing career as a business executive with nobody knowing. So he already proved, it's like the movie Trading Places, right?
Yeah, right.
He proved that he could be the best with the best. I mean, Nike's a global company, one of the ever. And then to go on and do that at a high level in sports. I was just telling a brother over here, I said, it's more rare to become a president of an NBA or NFL team than it is to get on the field and actually play as an NFL player or an NBA player, right? And so when you think
jobs.
That's right.
Those jobs.
So when you think about that rarefied air and what he was able to accomplish, like most people who have a record, they think we're supposed to be picking up stuff on the side of the freeway or working minimum wage jobs.
Yeah.
Yet Larry proved that we have a value proposition. And I like to think that I'm proving that we have a value proposition beyond what our physical labor can do holding a wheelbarrow, right? We have the ability to exercise our intellectual currency and go out there and contribute not only to businesses, but to our community.
We appreciate you guys giving us some of your time today.
Yeah.
Like, really,
Appreciate
really,
it.
very
Yeah.
inspirational.
Absolutely.
Yes, indeed.
Appreciate you having us on. And, again, to me, one of the things I always like to say is that I heard a quote once that said, in this world, talent is distributed equally, but opportunity is not.
Mhm.
And what we're trying to do is provide opportunities for those who wouldn't ordinarily get those opportunities. So, again, thank you for giving us an opportunity to share.
Yeah.
How can people find you guys?
Yeah, well, I mean, we have info@jumpproject.org. Tap in with us on social media. Look at the stuff we're doing with the NBA. We're working with several teams across the country, pathwaying youth into careers, and reach out to us. We'll put you on the newsletter list or find ways that you can partner with us and share resources or partnerships, whatever else we can do together to make this world a better place.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
That was Larry Miller and Ken Oliver. We'll be right back with more guests.
The views and opinions expressed on the W Radio Show by the host, co-host, guests, and call-in listeners are solely the opinions and responsibility of the original source who expressed them. They do not represent the opinions of the W Show, 100.1 FM, One Kansas City Radio, Sideline Sports Talk, Team Wall Street Foundations, or affiliates.